Thank you so much for joining us here today. We're very excited to hear from our city manager and our mayor. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Natasha Tice. I'm the Public Affairs Coordinator, and I'll be your MC today. I'd also like to thank two very important groups, the Kiwanis Club and the Rotary Club.
To make the city run, it's not a one-person show, as you all know. It takes all of us. I'll be asking you to help us with things as the program goes on today, because if you know I ever get an opportunity in front of a mic, I always want to tell you what you can do to help make this a better place to live in Springfield and Robertson County. But I'd like to start by thanking our board and mayor and aldermen who give their time and dedication to studying the hard things of Springfield, and they are devoted to us. So I would like to start by introducing Mr. James Hubbard, Ward 1. Mr. Bobby Trotter, he's not with us today, but he's Ward 2. Jeff Gregg, Ward 3. Tim Harris, Ward 4, and our Vice Mayor. Miss Lisa Arnold, she's on this side of the room, Ward 5. Miss Emily Green, Ward 6. Thank you so much for the dedication that you give to the city of Springfield. I am a member of the Kiwanis Club, which I've been involved in for the past 20 years. I'm a lifelong resident of Robertson County, went to Joe Barnes and went on to Western Kentucky, where I have a finance degree. When I'm not working for the city of Springfield, I have another job. It's with the Farmers Bank. I've been there for 17 years. I run the branch on Memorial. I do commercial lending, and I'm the senior vice president. And I love to serve the city of Springfield, so I want to thank you for allowing me to do that for the past 15 years as alderman and mayor. If you were here last year, we talked a lot about the direction we were going to go in, and it was going to be tourism. And we've been doing that, and we've been focused on that. I'll tell you why in a minute, but I want you to watch this video with me, please.
When it's time for a refresh, a moment of discovery, a chance to connect, go where the first greeting is welcome, where history is in harmony with the future, where lifestyle, natural beauty, and shared vision are the magic ingredients for inspiration, community, and world-class stories. Come to a place where the best things never change. And the only change we know is growth. Come to Springfield, real Tennessee.
So you may ask, why do we focus on tourism? This is why we focus on tourism. It brought $175,000 to our budget, collected through our hotel and motel taxes in 2022. We had 25,000 visitors come through Winter Wonderland. How many of you in the room came to Winter Wonderland? If you haven't been, shame on you. You got to come out and see we have the best. You know, there's some people on TV bragging about their lights. I went down to see them. I'll put ours up against it any time, so come out for Winter Wonderland. And you know, when those 25,000 people come to Springfield, they stop and they eat and they shop. Who just travels and goes straight to where you're planning on going and doesn't stop at some of the retail stores because you forgot something, right? So that helps the city of Springfield. We had 7,000 visitors for Freedom Fest. That was an amazing day in the city of Springfield. The good Lord looked out for us and cleared off the rain, and we had 7,000, and most of them, I think, were young girls coming out to see Megan Maroney in their white boots. It was so fun to see the smiles and what joy it brings to the citizens and other people coming in to visit us. Who plays golf in this room? Legacy Golf Course, if you don't know it, is owned by the city of Springfield. It's one of our biggest assets. We've already had 32,000 rounds of golf played this year already. I need the rest of you to pick up some golf clubs and come out and join us. It's a lot of fun. We're estimating we have 2,500 to 5,000 people come for our monthly concert, our sunset concerts on the square for the First Friday Night Market. And I want to thank the partners at First Friday Night Market because that's a great event. Come out if you haven't been, bring the lawn chair, check in the concert, eat some food, and buy some stuff. I bet you could find some presents to give to some of your friends or your wife or, I know you need to shop. We had $500,000 impact to the city of Springfield's economy when the Dixie Youth Ozone Tournament came out. They came from everywhere in the state of Tennessee. They came on Thursday. We were right here in this room to welcome them, and it was so great to see all the people enjoy the city of Springfield, and they spent their dollars. And according to our county mayor, Mr. Billy Vogel, I'll quote you, they came, they spent their money, and they went home, right? So that helps to keep the taxes lower in the city of Springfield. That's why we're doing tourism. I'll ask you to follow us on Instagram and Facebook, realspringfieldtennessee.com. Get your phones out and make sure you are able to follow us because you'll keep up with everything going on in the city of Springfield and all the fun events. And I'll let you in on a little secret. There's some stuff on your table. We're going to give that away a little later. That is along with our logo. One of the things that we partner with the Chamber of Commerce, Robertson County Chamber, Jordan's in the room somewhere, thank you, is our Christmas parade. And I'm so excited. If you know the least little thing about me, you know I love Christmas. So I'm so excited to announce that our Christmas parade is changing dates. And I want you to save this date, December 2nd at 6 p.m. I need you to come out for the Christmas parade. You know that's going to put you in the Christmas spirit. And as soon as the parade is over, we're going to open Winter Wonderland in conjunction. So please come join us for that event. I need some of you to sign up and have some floats. Come on, I need a shake of a head. Floats, trucks, motorcycles, tractors. Who's in? Shake your head. I know the food was good, but I need some interaction, right, Brother Steve? I know y'all will do a float, won't you? See? I'm going to shame them all in. I knew Grace Baptist. They're always partnering with us and helping out. One of the things that we have in Springfield is a very strong economy. All of you out there are working, so you know that the unemployment rate's at 2.7. It's very hard to find employees. I see a lot of you shaking your head. One of the exciting things we had last year for our fiscal year 23 was we had 91 new businesses in Springfield. Over $8 million in sales tax was to the city of Springfield. Our budget's $133 million. A lot of you think that property taxes are our biggest, but it's not. We got $8 million in sales tax. Property tax is $5 million of our budget. So this is why I preach all the time, and the chamber preaches, and all of us preach, shop at home. If you shop at home, it takes care of your roads that you drive on. It provides police service, which is very needed, and all the other departments in the city of Springfield. So that's why we want to shop local, and you'll hear me talk about that a lot more. The 91 new businesses were so exciting. I know we had a lot of ribbon cuttings, and they kept sending me emails about the next ribbon cutting, so I knew it was a lot, but to sit down and look at the figures of 91 new businesses. But we don't want to forget the businesses that have been here. Let's talk about the ones that have been here for 100 years. We want to recognize them today. G.S. Moore & Son started in 1904. Southside Drugs, 1919. Stewart Williams in 1923. So we're very proud because these businesses contribute a lot to the city of Springfield. And you know what? They not only just contribute a lot, they're the ones you're going in and asking, them to give an ad for the annual, and they're doing it. So thank you to all the businesses in Springfield. One of the big concerns we have is the safety of our community. I know everyone's always concerned because when you turn on the news in Nashville, you see that there's so much crime going on. So I want to brag on our safety of our community. Because 6 consecutive years, our crime has dropped. We had 11% drop last year, but we really have one problem. You know, what did I say last year when I stood up here? We need to stop texting and driving. Do you remember that? I even admitted that I probably do that too. But I need your help. Theft of motor vehicles increased from 30 last year to 61. I need to put my glasses on, make sure I'm telling you the right number, 61. Please lock your cars. What are we going to do this coming year? We're going to lock our cars. When you get out at the convenience store or go into any business or you park at home, lock your cars. That seems to be one of the biggest areas we need to work on. We're one of the safest places to live. The violent crime dropped double digits 3 years in a row. We had 1 homicide in 2022, 3 reported robberies. Let's talk about our past for our robberies. In 2010, we had 41. In 2009, we had 54. In 2008, we had 67, 3 in 2022, and 2 in 2021. Thank you to our police department. One of the biggest concerns that we hear is that we need to continue to improve transportation. As you know, William Batson Parkway is being extended right now. It's being extended over to Highway 41. It will come out there by the experiment station. That should be finished in June of 2024. Our long-term plans are that we have a loop around all of our major, leading to all of our major highways. I want to show you a graph of how that's going to be for the future. You got to be planning, right? If you're not planning, you're not succeeding. So if you see, we want to go east from Highway 41 to Highway 76, and then 431 and go over to 49. What you see in the middle line is the extension and the finish of our greenway. If you haven't been out on our greenways, we have the best greenways in the state of Tennessee. Mr. Hubbard's clapping because he's out there every day. Love where you live. I ask you every year when I stand up here, the best help we can get is from you, the citizens. Love where you live. Tell our story. Tell our positive story about all the exciting things that are going on. The construction of the new parking lot at J. Travis Price Park. How many of you have been out there when you couldn't find a parking place when it's time to play ball? I know I have. So we're getting a new parking lot. We have applied for a $500,000 grant for Gardner Street Park, new restrooms, renovated restrooms, new playground, and my favorite, 2 pickleball courts. Mr. Terry Martin, you better get that grant. I'm looking forward to playing pickleball. We've upgraded the software in the utilities department. Now we're going to be able to do things online. We're finally going to be able to do it online. Thank you. Construction of the new fire hall. It'll be a 3rd fire hall. And then we also are going to do a wastewater treatment plant. Those are things that are the positive things that are coming in our near future. I want to brag for a minute. I've been at TML. I serve on the Tennessee Municipal League's board, and I've been down at the convention, and one of the things that I always like to brag about is our parks. And they've gotten some awards this year. Last year when I stood up here, I think the next week we left to go to Gatlinburg because the Tennessee Municipal Leagues awarded our parks Award for Excellence in Parks and Recreation Award. You can see Mr. Martin up there with the award. Right after that, the Tennessee Recreation and Parks Association awarded us the 4-Star Award. That's for the excellence in park and the 2 new sand volleyball courts at J. Travis Price Park. We've had record-breaking years. Our youth programs have skyrocketed. There's so many people wanting to sign up for that. For the people on Facebook that say there's nothing for the kids to do, well, you definitely can sign up for this. You can go over to Willow Oaks if you don't want to play ball. There's lots of things for us to do, so let's tell the positive story. Our fishing rodeo was one of the highest attended this year in the state of Tennessee. It was so fun to see all the smiles from the people. Kids don't get to fish anymore. That's one of the things of the past. I'm very excited that there's so much positive going on. We live in the best place, and everyone is working very hard. I want to thank the staff and all the volunteers that help the city of Springfield. We love each and every one of you. I thank you for your hard work. I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Ryan Martin, our city manager, and he's also one of the assistant coaches for the team that went to Rockwood. He's not only our city manager, he's an assistant ball coach.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and I apologize in advance because I'm just now recovering my voice from being at the World Series tournament over the weekend. If you know, I was a third base coach, and the third base coach just screams for 2 hours, so I ended the weekend without a voice. But I appreciate you all being here today. I was telling somebody earlier that it really matters. It really matters because what we do every day is we serve you. And so to know that there's this many folks that come out that are interested in what's going on in our community, that care about what we're doing, is inspiring to our staff and our department heads because we want to know it's a drive to us that you care about what we're doing, since that's what we show up to work to do every day. Y'all, we just began a new fiscal year. You know, our fiscal year runs July 1st through June 30th. So we have our FY24 budget that was approved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for about $122 million. You probably say, if you haven't been to one of these before, you're probably like, my goodness, that's a lot of money. Why is it that we're just a little town? Why is it $122 million? Well, first of all, we're not that little of a town anymore. We're the 33rd largest city in Tennessee out of a couple of hundred cities or so. And so we're on the move, we're on the rise, part of it because of our proximity to, in Middle Tennessee, to Nashville, but also we're a little different. We're a little different. We have the utilities here in Springfield. We have over 95 million of that 122 is utilities. Long ago, decades ago, Springfield was set up where no one was providing electricity or water or wastewater, those services, so the city took it upon themselves to do that. In other areas, in other cities that aren't 200 years old, you'll have independent utility districts and things like that that might provide the water, might provide the electricity. Those of you that live outside the city limits of Springfield have your electricity provided by a membership co-op, by CEMC, but we do that inside the city limits of Springfield. Our general government services that we have are about 26 million of that 122. What's a general government service? That's your police, your fire, your parks, those type of things. And so about 25.7 million of that is our general government. Property taxes. Mayor already talked about property taxes. Our property tax rate will be, and I'll explain why it will be, 70.5 cents roughly. That's down from $1.07 2/10. Well, did you reduce the property taxes? No, but you all got a letter. Chris Trauber, our assessor of property, is in the room somewhere, and there he is right here. Chris sent you all a very kind letter to let you know that your net worth had increased as when your property values went up earlier this year. And as a result, what happens, because there was some panic and some folks were like, oh my goodness, my property went up a lot, am I going to have to pay more in property taxes? Well, no. What's required by state law is that the local agency, local governing bodies, the city and the county actually reduce the property tax rate to the equivalent of what that increase was. So if you have questions about how that works, please don't ask me, but Chris Trauber's sitting right here, and he would love, I'm kidding. Chris is a wonderful guy. Actually, he was on the radio before me last week, and I heard him give out his direct number, so he's very accessible. He's a public servant as well. If I could remember it, Chris, I'd tell him right now, but I can't remember what the number was. No increase, so no property tax increase in FY24. We're proud of that. That's something to be proud of as long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. 1 cent equals $71,246. This is something that in our world we care a lot about. Outside of the government world, it doesn't matter. What does that mean? Because of the new property tax rate, every penny, not of every penny of what you pay, but every penny on that property tax rate brings in about $71,000 worth of revenue. So you could figure that, hey, a 4-cent property tax increase is going to bring in a little over $280,000. Or that's how much each cent on the property tax equates to. And the mayor already told you that's important. Of a $122 million budget, only 5 of it is property taxes. That's why shopping local matters. We can rely less on property taxes if we're shopping local and growing our economy. Speaking of growth, let's talk about it. That's what I think most of you came to hear today, so let's talk about growth. We know that we have inflation. We know that we have supply chain issues, but our growth is continuing in spite of that. 2022 actually ranked as the 3rd highest year for residential building permit issuance on record. I've done this when I've spoken to some of you recently, some trivia. 2021 was actually the highest year, and 2006 would have been number 2. But 2022 was the 3rd highest year. 2023, believe it or not, is on pace to beat 2022. So we have not seen a slowdown in growth. This is a little scary. Again, it gets scarier. 2,149, those of you that were here last year, we gave you a number last year. Some of those have been built, and we've had some new things come in, but we still have 2,149 residential units that have been approved and not built. Those are the ones that are approved. Those are the ones that people have spent money on. Maybe there's a subdivision that's halfway built or mostly built, or they've turned dirt, but they haven't pulled building permits yet. That's a 30% increase in our population. You say, well, how'd you get that number? Well, the United States Census Bureau says that there's an average of 2.6 people that live in a residential unit, a house or townhome or whatever. So if you multiply that times 2.6, I'm not a math genius, but it's about 5,500 people. And so you add that into our population, it's about a 30% increase. Even more, but wait, there's more. 3,500 new residential units have been proposed. These are the things where there hasn't been dirt turned, there hasn't been an annexation, there hasn't been any kind of approvals given to the development. So that's another 3,500. And if you total that together, we're looking at almost an 80% increase in our population. Y'all, that's as close to doubling as we can get. Those are the things that we talk about internally. Those are the things that we talk about in the office, is how do we prepare for all of the people that are coming to Springfield? Because there's good and there's not so good. There's growing pains and there's gains. We have opportunities and challenges. Some of the good things about growing is you have more commercial activity, right? We get more businesses open. And what does that mean for you? That means convenience. You don't have to drive to Hendersonville or Clarksville or Rivergate to get certain things. Gina, you don't have to drive down the ridge to go to Starbucks anymore. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that. Or go park your car at Kroger. So when we get an entity like that opens, you know, that's convenient, and that's what we want, and those things come with rooftops. We get greater choice of work. When you get more commercial customers, we call them commercial customers, when you get more businesses moving in, those are jobs, and that provides greater choice of work for our citizens here locally. The more economic productivity, I just mentioned this, I want to drive that point home. When you're shopping local, you're creating an economic boost locally, an economic boost. You're putting money in the pocket of those employees, of that business owner. But you're also creating sales tax revenue, which puts police officers on the street, pays for fire trucks to respond if your house catches on fire, and that takes the pressure off of that property tax, and that's how we keep that property tax low. The mayor talked about it. There's no substitute for shopping local when you can, so we appreciate that. But it's not all good, right? There's some challenges. Infrastructure. Mayor talked about building a road. Right now we're building the second phase of the extension on Batson Parkway. We've got to build a new wastewater treatment plant, not only to replace what we currently have because it's 40 years old, but also to accommodate all of those people moving in. Traffic congestion, that's one of the things we're solving with these road projects and future phases of the road projects, and affordable housing. That's a real issue. That's a real issue that Middle Tennessee is facing because of that increase in property values. It makes it difficult for certain folks to afford to live here locally. It makes it difficult for any of you business owners in the room that are trying to hire employees. They're like, my goodness, I can't buy a house there. I can't live there. So they have to live somewhere else. The question that always comes up is, who pays for that growth? Who should pay for it? Normally, and I want to make this point too, that when you talk about the utilities and you talk about taxes, we cannot take that strong sales tax revenue and apply that towards our wastewater issues. We can't take that electric revenue and apply it towards the wastewater. The state of Tennessee, and we make this point I think every year, the state of Tennessee requires us to keep those funds and those businesses separate. So we have to rely exclusively, when you're building a $70 million wastewater treatment plant, on sewer rates. Well, that's terrible, because sewer rates are already high, right? But the board last year, we informed you last year, it just happened, the board adopted a system development, or impact fees as they're commonly called, to put those into effect to charge those impact generating developments a cost that helps pay for that growth. There's been a lot of discussion about these impact fees. People feel one way or the other about them, but now we know a little bit more. We're about eight months into the full implementation. So how's it going? We didn't know if development would slow down. We didn't know if it would stop. We didn't know what would happen. But we knew that we heard from our citizens, and our board heard from the citizens, and they said, I shouldn't have to pay for you doubling the size of your wastewater treatment plant. All these people coming in here are the ones that need a wastewater treatment plant that are twice the size that we already have. So make them pay for it. Let's talk about some fact versus fiction real quick about impact fees. Impact fees are designed to help the growth pay for itself, and that help. We emphasize help. It doesn't pay for all of it. It doesn't pay for all of it. It can't. There's not enough there to help pay for all of the growth in infrastructure, in roads, in wastewater, and that sort of thing. It can only be used, however, for growth-related expenses. Let me give you an example of how that plays out. Let's say we have we're building a police department, new police department headquarters, okay? And we have a 4,000 square foot police department building, and we need to go to a 6,000 square foot building. We can only use impact fees to pay for the additional 2,000 square feet when you replace that 4,000 square foot building. So you can only use impact fees for growth-related expenses. A new road, not repaving a road, but a new road or widening of a road. Anything that's growth-related, you can use those impact fees for. It's only paid by new development. So we have a lot of redevelopment that happens. They may take a building down and put a nicer new structure on there, because that was one of the things that said, well, you're going to take the incentive away. You're going to punish people that want to bring new stuff here. You're going to punish people that take an old dilapidated building and put something nice and new. No, because impact fees aren't paid by redevelopment when you're putting something back in that same footprint. Impact fees have not killed growth in Springfield. I told you that 2023 is on pace to beat 2022, which was third only to 2021 and 2006. So growth is continuing. There's a lot more. You see what's on its way. In fact, that 3,500 number that I gave you went up by 300 this week. This week, we received a concept plan and are going to be having a meeting soon about a 300 housing unit development that will require an annexation. So that number just continues to go up. And finally, I've heard this one too, Springfield's impact fees are not the highest in Middle Tennessee. Two other cities in Middle Tennessee, one recently adopted impact fees for the first time. That'll be implemented. One city relatively locally increased their impact fees. They're about the same as we are, and then there are other cities in Middle Tennessee that have them, and we are not the highest, fortunately. When we grow and we talk about all these things, we've got to grow responsibly, and that's one of the things that we have to make sure. That's an obligation that we have to you, and that's what our job, I believe, is to make sure we do that. But we can't do that alone. The mayor said, we need your help. So we've kicked off a comprehensive growth plan that will require some public input. You have a say in how we grow. This is your city, and we work for you. So we need your input on how we grow and the manner in which we grow. So our comprehensive growth plan has kicked off. There's a consulting firm that we've hired to perform that update for us with all of this. And so we want to hear from you. So be on the lookout. Natasha will do a great job with our social media, and she'll be putting those things out. If you're not following us on social media, you should be. Shame on you, and you should be signed up for our citizen newsletter, because that's where we put that information out as well. Facility study. We talked about the things we've got to do. We've done a facility study that'll be presented to the board actually in August. That talks about a new fire station, talks about the new wastewater treatment plant, whose cost estimate is now, I mentioned, up to $70 million. We do expect construction to begin later this fiscal year. We're hopeful that construction will begin later this fiscal year as the design is finishing up now. And the mayor mentioned to you the current Batson Parkway extension, which is the next phase of what will ultimately be a loop connecting the major arterial highways in and around Springfield, which are designed to alleviate congestion and provide greater access to the interstate. Speaking of that, I'm going to share something with you today that's coming. And it is a large-scale development that is proposed that should be coming before the approving authorities later this year. It's a 400-acre master plan development that will contain one of those phases of that transportation plan. There's a corridor that will connect Tom Austin Highway with State Highway 49. So that's our western phase, right? I'm going to show you what it looks like. See if I can, Andy, I'm going to see if I know how to work this laser here. This is Walmart right here. This is Watson Road. And this is Tom Austin Highway. And way over here is Highway 49. And it's this 400 acres right in here. Several parcels of 400 acres. That's a large, it'll be the largest development Springfield's ever seen. Approximately 3,000 new residential units. So when I say that 3,500 number, 3,000 of them are contained in just this one development right here. A new commercial corridor. There'll be that parkway that'll run through the middle of that development. It's a master plan community with a town center in the middle of the community. And so it's a big deal. There will be a lot of public input opportunities for that. So be on the lookout for that. That's a big game-changing development. Brings a lot of commercial activity, brings a lot of rooftops. But we need your input on that as well. So feel free to show up for a public comment or public hearing and share your opinion and give us a call. Our staff's willing to help. We'll answer any questions that we can, because that'll be a big deal in Springfield. We talked about growth and its opportunities and challenges. But what's actually happening here in Springfield? We see soaring sales tax revenue. The mayor's already shared that. She told you about the new businesses. Those things are great, and we're excited about that. But that's not all, and that's not the whole story. The Springfield Police Department had a 13% increase, nearly 20,000 calls for service in 2022, 13% increase over 2021. The fire department, almost 3,300 calls, which was an increase over 2021. But we've also seen massive growth in youth sports participation, as the mayor shared. And you're like, well, Ryan, you went from positive to not so good back to positive. Well, here's the way that cuts both ways. With massive growth in youth sports participation, does anybody know where our youth basketball program is housed in the city of Springfield? We're here, right? So with hundreds of kids signed up, we only have one gym. So we had to rely on partners last year, like the YMCA, and we rely on the school system for some of the facets of our youth sports program to accommodate the growth in participation. So we're going to need facilities. We're going to need ball fields. We're going to need soccer fields. We're going to need gym space. We're grateful that all of those people are moving here, and they want to be involved in the city of Springfield. They want their kids. They feel comfortable and good about their kids being involved in the city of Springfield programs. We love that, and that's awesome. But we got to accommodate them somewhere, or we have to turn them away. And that's the risk that we're running as we run out of space. So that's the impact. That's the real story about growth. What's the takeaway? Increased growth equals a strengthened economy. That's good, right? That's what we want. But it also equals increased demand for services, which is the challenge that we face. As the wise quote goes, growth isn't stopped, it is managed. I don't know if anybody remembers who said that. I don't either, but somebody somewhere I hopefully said that, because if they didn't, they should have, right? Because it's a good one. Somebody ought to hang on to that and take claim to that. We're living in exciting times for Springfield right now. I mean, exciting times. I mean, it's good to be where we are right now because of everything that's taking place and how we get to see our community grow, but keep our identity at the same time. And that's the most important thing, is people are moving here because of who we are. And we want to keep that. We want to keep that even though we're growing. Everybody knows, and everybody's seen the Chipotle out on Highway, out on Thomas. Isn't that what Hip Spring? That's wrong. Hip Springfield told me it was a Chipotle, right? Is that what? We'll have. I won't get started on Hip Springfield. The Chick-fil-A. The Chick-fil-A is scheduled to open later this year, and we're excited about that. And that's another business that's coming among many that we're expecting to receive. And so we're excited about that one coming. New retail developments have been proposed with some names that I think everyone will be really excited about as those things take shape. And we're working diligently with property owners and entities to make those things happen. We do not open businesses, nor do we close businesses. We don't decide what stays. Well, no, you can't have a bowling alley. We're no longer going to have a bowling alley. We don't open or close businesses. Private investment makes those things happen. Our job is to go try to encourage and recruit those things to happen. That's what we do. And right now, it's really easy because there's a lot of interest in Springfield. Everybody knows what's happening. Everybody wants to be here. And so it's easy to go out and sell Springfield and recruit because folks want to be here. Here's the problem. It doesn't happen fast enough for me. I'm very impatient, and I wanted it to happen yesterday, but it was 2 years, about a 2 to 2.5 year process from when our first conversations with Chick-fil-A happened till they broke ground. From when they committed to the market, say, yeah, we want to be in Springfield. That was a 2-year process. So it just takes a while, and those things take shape, and so it just takes a while for everybody who wants to be here to find a spot, make things happen internally with their organization, and get here. The number one question we get asked now is about the Rite Aid building. We get asked all the time about the Rite Aid building. And I wish I could tell you well, maybe we can. Should we just tell them? Okay. Mayor said we don't make announcements for businesses that are coming because we preserve their confidentiality and the integrity of the process unless they ask us to, or things will be discussed at a public meeting. But we have permission to tell you today what's going into the Rite Aid building. Actually, they were here this morning at City Hall for a meeting, this organization. It will be a Wawa. I was unfamiliar with Wawa, and so with some research, it turns out that it is it's a gas station of sorts. Somebody explained it to me, and I don't know if this is right because I've never been in one, but somebody explained it to me. It's kind of like a Buc-ee's but smaller, but it has the fancy eateries and things like that in it. So apparently they're a big deal. The Tennessean wrote an article about them when they were moving into Springfield. Even it made news in Philadelphia because apparently these things have a cult following on the East Coast. In Philadelphia, that Wawa announced its plans to expand to Tennessee in the coming years. So we're grateful to have the investment. We're grateful to have that property turn into an economically productive property because right now it's not. And you need it to be, and I need it to be. We need that property right there to be an economically productive property. So there's your break. You just can't tell anybody. It's got to stay in this room. Can't wait to see what they say it's going to be on Hip Springfield, Mayor. Our job's to serve you. I told you that. We're in the customer service building, and we have a staff that comes to work every day that wants to serve. They desire to serve. They care about the product and the quality of their service, and we have a phenomenal bunch of employees. So I want to thank them for what they do because they're the ones on the ground providing your service. They're the ones that show up to your house and pick up your garbage. Absolutely. They're the ones that pick up your garbage. They're the ones that are jumping up when the tones go off at 3 a.m. That you need help and they jump on the fire truck and get there. They're the ones that when the greenway floods, they're out there in the muck and the mess and cleaning that greenway off. And all of those things, making sure that the lights are on as long as there's no 80-mile-an-hour winds that have come through, which we've had a lot of lately. But making sure the lights are on, making sure that when you turn that water faucet on that the water comes out, and making sure that when you, most importantly, maybe, when you flush that toilet, that it goes somewhere. Because we all want it to go somewhere. We don't want it to stay. So I'll take a moment, though. We have folks that lead those departments and lead those employees. And so I want to, if you are a department head with the city of Springfield, please stand up. I got to find you. Y'all are all scattered out everywhere. Now don't clap too much. They don't need that much credit. No, keep standing. I'm going to introduce you. Right here, Greg Riddle, if you'll wave your hand there. Greg Riddle is our gas utility director. Clayton Moore in the, I don't know what color shirt that is, but Clayton Moore, it's a cute shirt, man, is our Public Works Director, and he is over, he's over streets. Public Works contains street sanitation, stormwater, and vehicle maintenance. Terry Risha is our Electric Utility Director. Terry made sure before he showed up in public today that everybody's lights were back on, so thank you, Terry, for doing that. Terry Beers is our Water and Wastewater Utility Director, so he makes sure that when you flush the toilet, it goes somewhere. Back in the back, Jason Head is our Police Chief. We're really grateful for him and his service for making sure that crime rate stays low. Right over here, I'm going to skip to right over here, we have Jeff Gladowski, our Fire Chief. Thank you, Jeff. And Terry Martin, our Parks and Recreation Director. Thank you, Terry, for what you do. Now, you probably noticed I just called out 3 Terrys, okay? I called out 3 Terrys. So when we're in staff meeting, all I got to do is say, Terry, I got a 30% chance of getting it right. Right over here, Candace Tillman is our Assistant City Manager. We can't be successful without the job that Candace does. And Kim, if you'll stand up too. Kimberly Brickles is my Executive Assistant. She also serves as our HR Director. And those are the folks that make the city run. Those are the folks that do the job, that lead these people and make things happen. So one more hand for them, please. As I wrap up here, I want to impress to you, and so you know when you leave today, what our mission is. We have 3 facets to our mission statement. The first one is providing efficient and cost-effective services to you. The second one is to enhance the public perception of the city government, have a professional representation, and represent you well. The third one is to improve the quality of life in Springfield. If something that we propose to do doesn't fit with at least one of those facets of that mission statement, we won't do it. If something that we're doing ceases to be part of at least one of those facets of our mission statement, then we'll stop. We're here every day to be in the customer service business, and we serve you. Give us a call anytime. Our staff is very willing to help you. Call me or call Kim or call any of our department heads. We're glad to help you, and we're grateful, truthfully and honestly, for the opportunity to serve you here at the City of Springfield, and thank you all for coming today. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for submitting all of your questions. We received quite a few, but we narrowed it down to just a handful here for you today. Our first question: when will Springfield get a Publix? Ryan?
Thank you, or no thank you, Natasha, I'm not sure which. When will Springfield get a Publix? I told you that we're continuously in the retail recruitment business. Let me be honest with you, we've had conversations with Publix. And let me be further honest with you and say they want to be here. So, will Springfield get a Publix? Yes. When? I have absolutely no idea. They visited the market. The first conversation that we had, I think, with them was in the fall of 2022 with a brokerage that was representing Publix. And so we think that there's a desire and an interest. I don't know where or how, but I believe that it'll happen. When you talk to folks like Michael Taylor at Walmart and you know how economically successful, we have one of the highest performing Walmarts in the country. I mean, and that's one of the things that blew Publix away. I don't want to get too far in the weeds on this, but our Walmart here, the average Walmart, Publix, the brokers for Publix told us this, that the average Walmart does about $95 million in business a year. Our Walmart hit 120, and 110 and 120 in respective years. So there's enough money to be spent, there's enough to go around for everybody to be successful. So we'll continue to recruit that retail, that's our job, and we'll continue to do that. But we don't open a Publix. There are other countries maybe where the government where runs the business, but we don't do that here. It takes private investment, but they do want to be here.
Why are residents not allowed to have chickens or other farm animals?
Of course, I get this question because most of you know I grew up in Cedar Hill, and we had chickens, and we had dairy farm and all kinds of animals, and I love animals. But we talked about this a number of years ago on the board, and some of them that have been on the board for a good while. We had a lot of our residents say, we live on small lots. We don't want chickens coming over in our yard from our next door neighbors. So that is the reason we have an ordinance in the city of Springfield not to have chickens. But I do love fresh eggs. I'm not against chickens, but they probably need to stay out in the country.
What does the city plan to do about the rise in homelessness in our area?
This is a good question, and it's a real serious question that not Springfield and not Robertson County, and really not even Middle Tennessee is facing. We know what's happened with inflation. We know what's happened, with the economy and how things have happened with affordable housing. And this is a real issue. It's a very, very real issue. We've seen a rise here locally because of a number of different things. Obviously, the increase in property values and property growth makes it hard. But one of the underpinning tones of all of this is the mental health and addiction crisis that we're seeing in this country. That's the real crisis. The homelessness is generally kind of a symptom of a different problem. So we've got to, as a society and as a community, solve that problem, and the homelessness will resolve itself. We're thankful for organizations like My Father's House. We had Candace, Chief Head, Chief Glodowski, and myself met with My Father's House earlier this week. They're an organization that seeks to try to fill some of that gap with a cold weather shelter through the months of November and March. That's needed here. So we're thankful for them. We met with them. Organizations like that can step up and help. And as I've volunteered, Brother Steve, when we hosted My Father's House shortly after it at our church, when we started it, or when it got started, and I'll tell you, the folks that came in had jobs. They just couldn't afford to live anywhere. Maybe they were getting back into a comfortable situation. So sometimes we write this off as, well, they need to get a job. You can't drive up and down Memorial Boulevard and not throw a rock and not hit somebody who's hiring, right? But sometimes that's not the whole story. Sometimes they do have jobs. Sometimes through mental health or addiction, they're not able to hold work. And so those are the things through different entities and local agencies that we would lean on to help us with that, because the city of Springfield, I'm here to tell you, cannot solve that problem by ourselves. We just don't have the capability to solve a societal issue like mental health and addiction the way it's running rampant in our society today. So we need your help with that, but that's a really good question.
What is the best part about serving the city of Springfield?
The best part of serving the city of Springfield was working with each and every one of you to make this a better place to live. I believe it's our mission in life to leave it just a little better than what we found it, and God gave us the ability to do that by being in such a wonderful community and being able to serve each and every one of you and go hand in hand to work to make this a better place to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you so much for joining us today. I'd like to give another round of applause thanking the Kiwanis Club and the Rotary Club for their hard work today. I'd also like to thank North Nash Catering for that delicious lunch we all just enjoyed.